Everybody, thanks for coming to City Council on October, what are we? 4th, October 4th, 2022. We appreciate everybody here in attendance in person and watching online or from Channel 17. First thing we'll go to on item 3 is the prayer and motivational message. We have called upon one Chris Thompson to give us that message. Thank you, Chris.
Brandon told me I couldn't give a message.
Keep it to a prayer.
I didn't tell you that. I said,
He did. Yeah, he did.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful to be gathered at this time to conduct the business of this great city. We are grateful for the opportunity to live and serve here. We pray that Thy blessings will be upon all those who are involved in this public process. We pray for this in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you, Chris. I don't know who was up to lead the pledge this time. Tara, there was an email, but I don't know.
I'll do it. Would the audience please rise and repeat the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Item C, follow up to previous comments. We've added this agenda item typically from last council meeting. If there's any comments or questions that came up that maybe we got a little bit more information on as a city and wanted to get some answers or clarification from city staff. Do we have any of that, Seth, tonight?
Yeah, there was a question last council meeting with regards to, I think it was a Target contract from the public, and so I was asked by council members to address that. When we, first of all, when we were able to go public, we put out the news release, and when I say that we were able to go public, that we actually got confirmation and allowance, if you will, from Target to put out their news. We typically don't put out other companies' news. It's not our job. And so they specifically said, please don't share our news. When they went public, they said, you can go public as well. We then put out a press release, and when you put out a press release about that, a lot of times you get a phone call from a reporter, which we did, and we were happy to do that and be able to answer the questions. So there was a comment about how it was coincidental that there was a conversation with a reporter. It actually wasn't coincidental, it was because we put out a press release and they were calling. And they asked questions about the contract and whatever we did to help them come, and so we answered those questions. The contract that we have with Target is it's one actually professionally I'm really excited about, because it will rebuild a space that has been delinquent and unused for the last, at least 5 years, 6 years, right? But maybe even 7 or 8 years. And so this will be a great change to that particular building that has been generating $0 in sales tax and very, very few dollars in property taxes. And so the contract that we have with them is a post-performance contract, and money will only go to them if they generate what we call an increment. So today, if you will, they're generating this much sales tax or this much property tax, and they will only receive anything if they generate something more, and they will only receive that if they will only receive what they receive from that additional revenue that they bring in. And so there won't be any dollars that you or I give away that we have today. And so it would only come from revenue that they generate, and it would be over time. And so nothing is paid up front. They would receive a payment equal to whatever they have earned under the terms of that contract over a 10-year period. And so the cumulative amount may be a few $1 million, but it would be subject to them hitting their benchmarks and performing each year that they are here. I don't know if that's sufficient. Do you have any other questions?
That's great.
Yeah, that's good information. I just can't remember off the top of my head the date. We discussed this obviously in public meetings.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the dates over the summer.
I'm going to say in June.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's probably a council meeting in June.
Okay. Thank you, Seth. Thank you for that. Okay, item C, any other previous comments? If that's it. We'll go to number 4, public comments. This is for general public comments from the public to address the mayor and council. Before we start that, I just want to remind public comment in Spanish Fork for this and later we have an agenda request to discuss the referendum too. But make sure when we're doing public comment in Spanish Fork, we keep to levels of decorum. We've adopted that as a council, not just this council, but previous councils as long as I can remember. Make sure we don't applaud, boo, anything else. We want everybody in this chamber to feel welcome, that they can address their elected officials and not be intimidated in any way of doing that. If you just can't help yourself, we can yell at the TV at home and watch this meeting live, but just make sure we're keeping the decorum of these public meetings all the time. So we want to hear everybody's opinions, everybody's issues, and don't want anybody to be intimidated to not share those things one way or the other. So with that, I'll turn it over to the public for comments. Anybody here to address the council for general public comments? Okay. That takes us to item A on the agenda. This is under public comment, but this is item A, the agenda request referendum discussion. We'll put, if Mr. Nick Porter can help out with the time up here. This agenda request item has come up regarding the referendum discussion. And so we've allotted 10 minutes to discuss this, 5 minutes for two sides of this discussion. We have, I believe, some referendum sponsors here to speak. There's your 5 minutes up on the screen, but Nick will help you too. We'll try to raise your hand when you get close or something like that. Yes, question?
Be other public comments allowed after?
No, not after this.
Not referring to the referendum, but other public comments.
No, before we go to the referendum, we could do that with public comment that we were just in just now. So we can still have public comment before we head to the referendum if anyone wants to be part of public comment, for sure. And then we typically do public comment in 3 minutes, so we can get to the rest of the agenda and he can let you know. 3 minutes, but go ahead.
So just to understand you correctly, you said you can announce, businesses' information after they publicly announce? Is that what you said?
That is what I said, yeah. We typically we try not to announce somebody else's news unless they are comfortable with us announcing their news.
Okay, so their news came out at least maybe earlier than July 26th, but you guys waited till August 2nd to announce.
It's probably the next council meeting. I don't know if we had a July 26th.
Whatever timetable it took us to write what we wrote, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that we had another council meeting before the first Tuesday
You
one.
announced it on Facebook, not the council meeting.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else from the public before we move on to the referendum discussion? Okay. We won't dock you we won't start the time, but she needs to know your name so she can get
Amber
it.
Dawn Mock.
Okay. Thank you, Amber Dawn.
I just wanted to take a few minutes to let everyone know that we're gathering signatures for a referendum petition. We only have a few more days to get 2,000 signatures, or the city council will not allow us to vote on the property tax increase they recently approved. We will be here during tonight's city council meeting collecting signatures and answering any questions. Please come down and sign if you want the opportunity to vote. You can also go to votespanishfork.com to find other signing locations and times. This petition is to refer the property tax increase to fund the construction of the estimated $60 million recreation and senior center to be placed on the ballot, for all citizens to be given the opportunity to vote yes or no on the property tax increase, not whether or not you want a rec center. The city is proposing the use of several different streams of income to fund the $60 million bond for the rec center, all of which are funded through Spanish Fork citizens in the form of taxes. 40% is from property tax increase, 40% is from RAP tax, 10% sales tax, 5% other sources, one of which is from Nebo School District, which we also pay, and 5% impact fees. The real estate market is a roller coaster, so this isn't a consistent source. It's also possible we only have the RAP tax revenue through 2028. It was voter approved in 2018 with 66% in favor, but will have to be voted on again in 2028. In 2015, the $40 million bond for a life center, which included a rec center, senior center, and library, was put on the ballot and overwhelmingly voted against. 4,343 votes to 1,780. The population of the city has changed substantially since the 2015 vote, so why don't we let the citizens vote again? Even though the Life Center was voted down in 2015, City Council instead approved constructing 2 facilities for an estimated combined cost of $80 million. It could cost even more since the tax increase to fund the bond for the rec center is only an estimated $60 million. When property tax was increased in 2020 to fund the new library, it was initially estimated to cost up to $12 million, with $7.5 million funded by increasing property taxes. Now the bond is costing us $20 million, almost double. After the first property tax increase in 2020 to build the library, City Council again increased property taxes a second time in 2021 to fund the bond. City Council and staff continue to say that a rec center is a community priority based on a 2020 citywide survey, and that this project is council-driven after listening to the people. You are basing the decision to build a $60 million rec center and senior center on around 1,400 respondents to only one survey that was specific to recreation. The support was so varied and the questions so manipulated to target a certain response that it shouldn't be allowed to be used as a basis for your argument. These 1,400 residents made up 3% of the population in 2020. Yet, we are required to get twice that many signatures just to force the property tax increase onto the ballot to allow citizens to vote on it. The city has done other surveys. The resident opinion survey was distributed to Spanish Fork residents in 2020 and 2021, in part to gather feedback on how to improve city services and address resident concerns. Between those years, traffic and growth remained the most important issues to our residents, not a recreation center. Only because the citizen referendum petition was filed, the city placed the tax increase on the ballot for November 2022. However, the votes for or against it will not count if we don't get enough signatures on the petition by the end of the week. The mayor, council, and staff already took the time and money to have it added to the ballot. Why not let us vote on it? If the city council is so certain of the support you have, then regardless of obtaining enough signatures for the referendum, you should let the citizens vote on the property tax increase to help fund the recreation and senior center project. As city council members, your role is representation of the citizens of Spanish Fork. Ask yourself, are you representing those on a fixed income, those with one wage earner in their household, and those businesses struggling to keep up with expenses? Your role is not to make the decision to handcuff each citizen and business owner to a 20-year, $60 million bond. Please let the citizens vote. With inflation high, food and fuel prices high, and a recession looming on the horizon, the timing for asking citizens to pay even more for a non-essential project is bad form. As city employees, you can vote to increase your wages and the wages of those who work with you. But we as citizens can't do that. We can only generate so much income for our families, and with the current economy, families are stretched thin, just meeting the basics of life. The citizens of Spanish Fork deserve representation. They deserve the right to have their vote counted. If you are wanting to reach into our pockets to stretch our budgets without reining in yours, we feel it is just to allow citizens to vote on the tax increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramon.
Can start now.
Thank you for that. I'll take just a minute before I pass it over to Shane for some comments for the other side. I've had residents anxiously ask me throughout the last couple of weeks, what's the next step in the recreation center, the senior center, the pools, and what are we doing? This is probably, again, the 4th or 5th public meeting that we've discussed these items, so I understand people's confusion a little bit. I do want to direct people to the website of Spanish Fork. The referendum packet is truly a packet, and this petition does have 2 sides to it. Here's a side that you just, here's another side going to hear, but each signer, when they sign a referendum packet, commits to these 5 points. It says, I have personally signed this petition. Number 2, the date next to my signature correctly reflects the date I actually signed the petition. Number 3, I have personally reviewed the entire statement included with this packet. Number 4, I am registered to vote in Utah or intend to become registered to vote in Utah before the certification of the petition names by the county clerk. And number 5, my residence and post office address are written correctly after my name. Point number 3 concerns me the most. I've personally reviewed the entire statement included with this packet. There are two sides to this statement, and sunlight's the best disinfectant. To get more information in both sides of an issue is what needs to be done. I'm fearful that a lot of people have signed, some people maybe have signed this packet without seeing those two sides. You can go to the city's website. That referendum information has been up there from day one, and you can review the whole packet. If you still want your signature to remain on there, you can certainly see it. One mention of it's on the ballot in 2022 is incorrect. You can go to the referendum packet and see that this would be on the, if enough signatures were gathered, this would be voted on in November of 2023. The time has already passed to be on the ballot in November 2022. Even if the successful signatures are gathered. Shane, I won't take any more minutes from you.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. First of all, thanks for coming tonight. Expressing your thoughts. There's so many times that we get accused of not listening to those that come and speak. And I want you to know we listen. We have listened, and in this case, we just disagree. That doesn't mean we haven't listened. It just means we disagree. And I think that's a very healthy thing for our community. When I was running for city council this last year, I got asked almost everywhere I went, how do you plan on keeping the small town for Spanish Fork? The small town, hometown feel that we all love. It's a perfect question. We've lived here for 45 years, and one of the biggest reasons we stay is for that small town feel. I believe that feeling comes from when our community gathers together, when we come together to discuss the issues, from fiesta days to the food trucks, to the coffee shop, to the soccer fields or baseball fields, to the pool or the senior citizen center. When we get together to discuss issues or meet our neighbors, we create a sense of community, a sense of a small town. These opportunities are not happenstance. They are deliberate, and in almost every case, our citizens have used either their treasures, their sweat, their time to make these gatherings happen. It's not city-driven, it's community-driven. The rec center, to me, and I think the rest of the council, is that next step in bringing the community together and bringing us together 12 months a year, unlike the other opportunities. I know we're asking our citizens to take a portion of their hard-earned money to help build this center. I understand the hardship that this can cause. If we could do this without a property tax increase, we would. And even with this increase, we would still have one of the lowest rates in the county. To me, this is really about our community investing to ourselves. We are not sending the tax to the state. We're not sending it to the federal government. We're using it right here in our community to build something that will make a positive impact on the quality of life of our kids, our seniors, and ourselves. Our community has a long history of investing into ourselves. These investments have created a place where people want to be. I want to be here, a healthy community, an engaged community, one that recognizes the value of taking care of our own. This referendum is intended to stop this investment. That's it, Mike.
Thank you, Councilman Marshall. Thanks again for coming and presenting that as well. Takes us to council comments. Councilman Euler wanted to try to go first because you have an issue that you need to get to, Kathleen. Yes, and he said he'd call on you. So we'll get to council comments and you'll go first.
We'll go ahead and start with Kathleen from the Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, you guys, I appreciate it.
I've got daycare issues. So we've got a lot of fun stuff going on right now at the Chamber of Commerce. The holidays are upon us, and we couldn't be more excited. The scarecrows are going up on Main Street, as you guys have seen, which is super fun. We're doing things a little bit differently this year. We've got, we used to do awards based on category of entry, like business, an award for a business, award for a school or a nonprofit. But this year we decided to judge based on the entry itself. So we've got the most scary, the most creative, the most fun. So we're going to be awarding based on those. And then we're going to be placing physical ribbon awards on the scarecrows that win. So that way the citizens can see who won, as well as just the chamber members that vote on them. So hopefully that will be a lot of fun. We're doing Trick or Treat on Main Street, October 29th from 1 to 3 p.m. So that's going to be a super fun, good time. Don't drive Main Street during then because it's going to be crowded. It's the last few weeks of our farmers market that ends on October 29th. We've lost a few of the fruit vendors just based on harvest and season, but we still have lots of vegetables and produce available. Pumpkins are out now, so that's a great place to get those. Our Winter Lights Parade is going to be November 26th. That's the Saturday after
Thanksgiving at 7 p.m. So we're just starting to take entries for those. So if you guys want to build a float, you should. We've got our business summit on October 20th, and we've got our super swanky flyer right there. You know, that handsome guy. he's our moneymaker right there. So make sure you come on down for that. Tickets are on sale on the Chamber website. That's going to be from 8:30 to 2 on October 20th. Hedro is our overall event sponsor. Cowboy Donuts has recently rebranded as Donut Run. They're our breakfast sponsor, and Neaters is going to be catering our lunch. So it should be fun and delicious. Our business of the month for the month of September is the Hampton Inn. We're going to be celebrating them on this Thursday, October 6th at noon. And Popeye's Chicken is having a ribbon cutting on this Friday, October 7th at noon. And that's what we've got going on at the Chamber of Commerce.
When does the Scarecrow end?
Scarecrow ends, that is a good question. I think we announced, so I don't know if there's a deadline for when to go up. We announce the winners at the Trick or Treat on Main this year, so they have to be up by then.
Sometimes until it snows and they fall over in the flower bed.
Yeah, we just got word that they have to be waterproof this year too because of the flowers. So we gotta make sure you waterproof your Scarecrow. Thanks so much, you guys. And I got to report and run, but I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kathleen. Appreciate it.
Couple other,
A donut run?
that sounds perfect.
Donut run.
Doesn't that sound great?
It's the new name.
500 calories, eat 2,000. Yep.
That's right.
A couple other things. Like Kathleen said, lots going on with the chamber, so hope you got your calendars marked for all of the events coming up. If you or your family is in the market for a new pet, the animal shelter this coming Saturday is hosting an adoption event from, I think it'll be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. down at the animal shelter. They'll have donuts and hot cocoa. They'll have classes teaching about how to be a good foster family for pets. So if you're in the market, head down and see if you can find yourself a cat or a dog. They have lots and lots of pets right now that they're looking for families for. So head down Saturday at 10. A couple other things. I just wanted to thank Emily Harriman and all of the many volunteers that took part in putting on the Wings and Wheels that took place last weekend. This was the first time that I had the chance to go down to Wings and Wheels, and I was very much impressed, blown away. What a cool event. So if you've never been, mark your calendars for next year because you don't want to miss it. So thank you to all of the volunteers that put that on. It was a great event.
Do we know how many attended?
Oh, Seth, I think you had that in your email, didn't you? If I remember right.
It was packed.
It was 10,000? Does that sound right?
It was a NASCAR event in Spanish Fork, it looked like, for how
Yeah.
many people were walking around on asphalt.
10,000. My over 10,000. So my brother and his family were driving down Highway 6, just about to McDonald's, when they saw this giant fireball in the distance. And he called me right away and said, "Is everything okay? What's going on?" So that's always a highlight when the explosions take place down there. So real cool event. And then looking forward to some trainings and classes at our league conference this weekend. So thank you, Mayor. That's all I had.
Thank you, Councilman Euler. We'll just go down the row. Councilman Marshall.
Okay, this week, I think I reported on the last time that we met as the Utah Lake Commission. This week we met on the Utah Lake Authority, which is the next phase of the Utah Lake Commission. We're working on our bylaws for that transition. One of the things that I want to make sure that every time I talk about it, everyone hears this, that authority does not have any authority over the island project. They're going to make a decision on that. This authority has nothing to do with whether that project goes forward or not. We're certainly willing to listen, but they don't make that decision, so FYI. I have to congratulate Emily too. That was an awesome day, and she was super tuckered, and it was a lot of fun. Every time one of those fast cars go by, I'm just like, someday.
That's what I knew.
Yep. And my daughter's like, get that, Dad, get that, Dad. I'm like, no. Dale, I want to ask you to come up and report on a loss to our arts community. Anna Murdoch passed away a couple weeks ago, and Dale's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. And for most of you who have been here for a lifetime, obviously, you know the Murdoch family. Anna was an icon in our arts community. And what I would like to do is just read a tribute that her son-in-law, Ken Jensen, who is our current Arts Council president, wrote just to pay tribute to her. We lost a jewel to our community in the arts program in Spanish Fork after multiple years battling Alzheimer's. Anna Murdoch passed away peacefully to join her husband in the next life. Anna was a founding member of the Spanish Fork Community Theater and directed many highly acclaimed shows in Spanish Fork, Springville, the Sierra, and Hale theaters. She also founded and directed the Spanish Fork Youth Theater over 40 years ago. She wrote and directed melodramas in the park behind Spanish Fork Library, which eventually led to the formation of the Harvest Moon Theater production, hosted with that annual celebration. In 2010, Anna was recognized with a Lifetime Achievement Award from Spanish Fork City. Anna's impact on thousands of youth and adults participating in viewing her beautiful artistic interpretations will be felt for generations. Anna was known for her warmth and kindness in addition to her professionally produced plays and musicals. Anna will be missed in our community. She was wonderful. Her husband Larry was my seminary teacher in high school. I don't know how many maybe none of you had him. That was a long time ago. Chad, maybe. But yeah, just stalwart people in our community. I've had the privilege of working with Anna through our department for many, many years, and she's just a sweet lady with a brilliant mind in terms of artistic production, and had a great love for the kids, and made a huge impact by creating these programs in our arts program, and we wanted to just take a minute. It's interesting because it's funny how you find these genes all in the same family. Because her daughter Cammie now is our she works in the youth theater program, and will eventually take over the community theater program. And of course, she's married to Ken, who's the president of. So anyway, they got more artistic genes than I even knew exist, because my family sure doesn't. But they have made such a tremendous contribution to our community in more ways than just the arts, but particularly there. And we wanted to pay tribute to her tonight and make sure the community knew that she was going to be sorely missed in the arts world. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
That's it for me.
Thanks, Councilman Marshall. Councilwoman Beck.
I have two things. First of all, our Fiesta Days Executive Committee have asked Garrett and Stephanie Anderson of Spanish Fork to be our incoming chairs. Garrett is currently the principal at Sierra Bonita Elementary. They are super excited. They love Fiesta Days. They love Spanish Fork. Last night we had our first meeting with them, and they're super excited. So we're looking forward to our next year. And echoing both Shane and Kevin, Wings and Wills was absolutely fabulous. So many sponsors, so many volunteers, such vision towards the future of what this airport is going to be. It's incredible to be down there and rub shoulders. It's a totally different world than I ever knew existed. We were getting a tour, and then Chris on the far right got a call, and someone said, "Hey, does anyone want to go up in the Acrobat airplane?" And none of us really said anything. So Chris Thompson said, "I'll go." And then I said, "I'll go with him." And he said, "There's only room for one other person." I'm like, "Chris, go." And so we both walked down there, and I had to put a parachute on, and I rode in front of this plane. That is the entire plane. And we went out over the shores of Utah Lake, and we were just spinning around backwards, diving, twisting. And I came back and I didn't puke. So once we landed, I'm like, oh, my stomach can now tell I did a little flip. So it was a trip of a lifetime, an experience of a lifetime. But I know I wasn't the only one down there with these kind of opportunities. Kids were getting helicopter rides, getting in and out of planes, fire trucks, cars. It was a really cool experience. So thank you to everyone involved. It was a really, really cool day. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman Beck. Councilman Gordon?
Councilwoman Beck, if you would let Stephanie Anderson know, well, just so you know, she makes a dessert called peanut patties.
Peanut patties.
Trust me. Just trust me.
I may have bribed them with some pumpkin bars when I went over to ask them to do this, and I heard she was really good.
Just trust me. Having lived by them many, many years ago when we lived in
Peanut pies.
peanut patties.
Peanut patties. Peanut patties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
I'm excited that they'll be wonderful to serve with you on the Fiesta Days Committee.
You didn't mention Mayor Anderson's son, right? Did you mention that?
Yeah, former Mayor Anderson's son.
I knew that. I didn't know if I should like plug names.
It's good.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Name dropping.
Name dropping?
It means if he messes up, Mayor Anderson will be on.
Yep. The farmer's market was mentioned. We're glad that the farmer's market continues. We'll be there through the end of this month. And even though not all your fruits and vegetables are still there are still vendors selling their wares. And so please support those local farmers. Again, echo everybody's comments on Wings and Wheels. It was a wonderful event. Appreciate all the volunteers, over 200 volunteers that gave of their time. Wonderful, wonderful event. Dale, thank you for mentioning Anna Murdoch. It will maybe surprise the mayor to know that one of her first productions, Peter Pan, so when I was a young boy in the Utah Valley Children's Choir, we got to sing in one of her plays in Peter Pan. And so you didn't know I had an artsy side to me, did you?
I'm just totally floored right now.
Yeah.
He's only got a few council meetings left. We should maybe ask for that rendition to be done.
I don't know if there's any. No, you don't want to. So, yeah. So, just dearly, we will dearly miss her, and the volunteerism that speaks from her and her families in this community is so what makes our community great. Those that so quietly volunteer their time behind the scenes to make Spanish Fork a wonderful place. We will all be attending a conference this week in Salt Lake, rubbing shoulders with fellow councils and mayors from around the state, and look forward to learning more and also seeing what good things are happening in other communities. We had a solid waste meeting, garbage for short. As it pertains, we're getting a little bit better with recycling. You hear me sound like a broken record. I have learned that cardboard can be recycled about 5 times before it becomes not able to recycle. But that's becoming the real commodity in recycling now. It used to kind of be aluminum cans, but our cardboard is just so precious now, and so just appreciate everybody being diligent in what they put in their blue can and being diligent with that. The new transfer station will also help us be more productive as it pertains to recycling. But all of the financials are in order and we end our fiscal year July 1st, so we had a report on last year's revenues and financials from the district, and everything is in order as we continue moving forward with the new transfer station. The off-site construction is all but done. You'll start seeing the vertical walls go up. The more and more all of the steel has been delivered, and it's quite the sight to see all of that out there, and so we're very excited for that construction to go forth. I mean, it won't be built. We know it doesn't get built overnight, but it's going to be neat to see it opened next year, and so you already know how I feel about garbage, Mayor. So I could go on all day, but I won't. I'll leave you with that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. Councilman Argyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick things. The Rotary will be planting some trees Saturday at Sarah Bonita Park, and they also are going to be putting a bench in there so that you can walk across the street, Mayor, and enjoy the soccer games. So, anyway, they're going to replace a few trees that have died also, so we'll be doing that Saturday. I had prior obligations. I did not make it to this year's Wings and Wheels, and you noticed I wasn't in the picture. But that P-51 flew over my house as it came in, and so that created some questions of I got a whole bunch of new neighbors behind me. And I just invited them to go to Wings and Wheels, and they can see that plane that just flew over us. So it was a pretty cool looking plane. Just want to also voice the help that it takes, Emily and Chris, and then our new manager, Christian. And the thing that's neat about our airport, when you go down there, it's not just all the volunteers, and it's also the people down there that have the planes that took Stacy for a ride that come in from other states. That P-51 was from Colorado. And those people that are in our airport are excited about that, because they are excited about the youth getting excited about aerodynamics and these airplane classes, and get them to fly and get them to take them to helicopters. And it serves a really good purpose, because it gets them excited about aviation. And so that's another reason why it's such a good thing. And to have 10,000 people come and enjoy that is such an awesome experience. Thank you to the volunteers. It takes a lot to pull something off like that one-day event. It takes a lot of planning, so grateful for the volunteers, and thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Argyle, and thanks all council members for reporting on your duties. When you listen to the council and the council comments every week, they meet important meetings that they're at, and takes away from their day jobs, their families, their time, personal time. But I find it interesting. Airports, arts, farmers market, library, the things that are mentioned, parks that are mentioned in our council comments, and what a great time we had together as residents over the last week, and then we'll do it the next couple of weeks too, are all places that, again, I want to remind the citizens, those are paid for by your taxes, by our taxes collectively. There's not always an ROI, meaning return on that investment in the positive way. So it's not financial, it's not always money, but it sure is memories. And it's a huge, important part of our community and the quality of life. And it makes it a quality of life to second to none. And we debate taxes and budgets and everything else, and you're going to see some budget presented here tonight. And we talk about the budget throughout the whole budget year. And especially when we're talking about taxes, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be debated if another investment is good for us. It should be spirited debate to see if it's a good investment into hard-earned tax dollars. And obviously, in my opinion, the next step that we're talking about, it is a quality another investment, just like the things that were mentioned here tonight of parks, arts, farmers market, airport, things like that. The Wings and Wheels, amazing job, again, pulled off by our Parks and Rec Department, Emily Harriman and everybody else, the volunteers. I know Emily was saying she had more volunteers than she'd ever had, but she's going to need to increase that next year for how big it's going to be next year. They're encouraged Mr. Seal that helps get all the fast cars there, and people coming out from all over the western United States. Said there's a few cars coming out from California next year that if you're a car nut, Shane, start saving your shillings now, because they're coming out and supposed to be some of the fast cars in this world. So very cool, and excited to see where it goes. All those hangars, walking in them, and these people being gracious enough to say, hey, come see what's in here and stuff. And we walked in one that Steve Wilson said, hey, come in here and look at what's in here. And you start looking around, yeah, look at what's in here. And I can't remember who told us the number, if it was Steve or if it was Chris, but $43 million in one of those hangars. $43 million in planes and things in one hangar in Spanish Fork. So that's a pretty cool thing to obviously get invited and see all those people that have a passion for wings and for wheels, and Jagger just thought it was the coolest thing ever. My 6-year-old could have spent another day there, and we about spent the whole day there, and it was fun. UMPA board meeting last Wednesday that I attended. Again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to be a power city in Spanish Fork. You are the shareholder of your public power, and so that makes it so you can share in the rewards of a public power city. We're not the only one. They're all across the nation, but we are an important part of UMPA, along with Provo, Salem, Goshen, no, right? Salem, Nephi, Goshen, Levan, Manti. Thank you. UMPA. These guys have been to UMPA meetings too. They know. But great meeting discussing the future of building more out our electrical grid and connecting them in our neighboring cities as well. County Commission meeting. We went over there last week with a couple of people from along from the city. Seth Perrins and Vaughn Piquel and Dave Anderson to talk with the county about our northwest quadrant that we talk a lot about in different arenas and stuff, but it's a great partnership with the county as well. Appreciate their time and hearing us out and working closely with us on the next phase that is a great piece, I believe, of our city, of economic development, a place where people can have jobs, careers, but also it's a place that, again, is an economic vitality component of our city that is a tax base that helps keep our property taxes low here in Spanish Fork. So appreciate the school district and the county and the discussions we've had with them so far. It was brought up the league conference this week. Excited to, again, communicate and be in the same meetings with cities, 248 cities across the state of Utah, to share best practices, and we come home all the time from these conferences with good ideas about what's been done well, what could have been done better, and then we take those and try to implement those where we can in Spanish Fork to just make sure we're doing the best job possible as far as governing here locally. So that's all I have. Thanks again, Council, for your reports. It'll take us right to the 101, number 6, Community Emergence Response Team, or CERT training. Is this, okay, here we are. Sandwiched in between the chiefs back there.
That's right. All right, good evening. I just wanted to give a brief overview of one of our programs here in Spanish Fork, which is the CERT, or the Community Emergency Response Team. I understand, Kevin, you've been through the program. Has anyone else on the council been? Many of you, wow, great.
Years ago.
Oh, okay.
Not tased, Councilman Gordon. Went through the CERT program.
Just taser training.
Just taser training, great. Well, this program is alive and well here in Spanish Fork. Nick, if you'll go through to the next slide. Oh, thanks. So this is a team comprised of volunteers here in the community, which is a very strong asset we have here in Spanish Fork. These are some pictures from my first class that I've hosted here in Spanish Fork. We have a lot of fun. You can see in the lower right quadrant there, we work with the fire department. We get to learn how to put out fires, how to use a fire extinguisher. The bottom left is called cribbing, where we teach our residents how to use leverage and lift large, heavy objects off of people. Here, luckily, it's a dummy, but we teach them how to help people, say an earthquake, something falls on them in their house, they're able to use the leverage to get the person out. Upper right corner, we have a mock disaster after the training, where we have actors. We have students, drama club, they get all, this is called moulage, where they get all makeup, and it looks like injuries from a real disaster or emergency. And we triage them, we search and rescue, and we haul them out of the area and give them the proper care.
Trevor, can I say I'm still a little bit traumatized with the mock disaster that I went through. The actors are really good.
Too real?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they take their screaming to the next level. But they have a lot of fun with it. So I hold this class October and April every 6 months. We hold it one night a week for 4 weeks, followed by a mock disaster on a Saturday morning. Our next class is actually October 20th, so coming up this month. And we get a lot of interest throughout the year. And I tell them, you know, do the online training. There's now an online portion of the training. And then I sign them up for the in-class skills portion over the 4 weeks. And the topics covered include disaster preparedness, the CERT organization, and ICS, which is the Incident Command System. Medical operations, they learn basic first aid, life-saving measures. We practice disaster psychology. Sometimes in an emergency situation, all someone needs is someone there to be with them, to listen to them, to hold their hand, to talk to them. They're not psychologists by any means, but they can offer help and assistance. We talk about fire safety and utility control, how to turn off your power or your gas, things like that. We practice search and rescue. We talk about terrorism and triage. Red, yellow, green, how severe are these patients? Have we been called out to real life situations? Yes, we have. And I try and look for opportunities to call out this team so that they can be active and feel engaged. Top left was from 2020. Right after I was hired, we were asked by Provo and Orem to go assist with the range fire up Provo Canyon. So we stopped hikers, runners from going up the canyon because they were landing helicopters and planes to fill up water to go put out the wildfire. So we were there helping with traffic control. You can see the helicopter there below. Top middle, we were helping with 2 operations at the fairgrounds, the elections during the height of COVID-19, help direct traffic, and then also with vaccination clinics, helping direct traffic and things like that. And then the top right, we were assisting Mapleton with sandbagging due to their wildfires they had some burn scars, and the residents often experience landslides and debris flow, and so we were placing sandbags for those residents. And service opportunities. We worked with the Red Cross to install smoke alarms all around the city. We did about 70 smoke alarms in the spring, and that's going to be an annual project for public outreach. And then we did a chipping project. We went up to the Oaks neighborhoods, and we asked the residents to chop their branches and things to help clear wildfire fuel, and we chipped that and hauled that away for them. And these are just some of the opportunities that the CERT team has to help, both in exercises, trainings, and real-life situations. And that's a picture of our last mock disaster. Sometimes we pair up with other cities. Last year, we paired up with Linden, so we have a big enough class to hold a mock disaster. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Trevor, how many members do you have of CERT in Spanish Fork?
We have over 500 people trained in the program. And I have a list through our Everbridge, our mass alerting program, where I can send out requests. We need help here in this location. Can anyone available please respond? So
on the 20th of October, how many people can you train? As many as you can fit in a building?
Yeah, I typically hold them at the Veterans Memorial Building. So we have large space there. My typical classes run 10 to 15. But that's growing. But we keep gaining traction. So
This isn't just for adults, right? You've got youth that participate.
Yep, and there's also a teen CERT program where I can invite the teens, and it can just be specific for that population as well.
And how do people sign up?
So through our website, through the emergency preparedness drop down on the website, there's a sign up there. They can also email me, call me. Really, the city can direct them to me as well. So.
Thanks for your work on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks,
Anything
Trevor.
else for Trevor? Appreciate it. Thank you. Important part of our community there. Okay, that takes us to item number 7, consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
A motion made by Councilman Gordon, seconded by Councilman Euler to approve the consent items. Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Roll call vote. Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Consent items are approved. It takes us to 8A, the public hearing, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, adopting a salary scale, fee schedule, and approving certain donations.
Thank you, Mayor. Each October, we do a revision budget. There are a handful of specific reasons that we do a revision budget in October each year. First of all, we would call this our carryover budget. In the way that Spanish Fork City budgets, we have projects that end, the budget year ends right in the middle of construction season. June 30th, July 1, our new year starts. And so we have projects that we know will span 2 years, and we budget as best we can in May for the dollars that we think we'll carry over, but we always are not 100% accurate right in every one of those projects. And so we have this carryover budget that we will take the months of July and August, true up how much we spent in the previous fiscal year, and carry the funds that were unspent that would fall into either fund balances or cash reserves, and then bring them back into the budget to spend. So that's the first and probably the primary reason for which we have this budget. I often refer to it as the carryover budget. The second one is mentioned the salary schedule. We update our salary schedule for all of our employees in October, and so that's a part of this revision budget. And then any other corrections or changes that may have come up, and we have a handful of those. We have 2 specific corrections that we'll make that have actually effects in every one of our budgets because of how some of our formulas worked. Something happened with our insurance and how it was allocated out. It all went into the motor pool fund and in the original budget, and that gets placed into all of the different funds on the motor pool account. Shouldn't have done that. We've identified how that happened, but so this just corrects how that was incorrectly allocated with the previous budget. So we have a handful of specific changes that we want to address with you, as well as take any questions that you have. So maybe let's do this. Let's have whatever the order is. Jordan, I think, is manning the order, and we'll present on a couple of things, and then any specific questions you have before we open up for public comment.
Thank you, Seth. Mr. Robinson first.
Jordan. You've aged. I've aged, haven't I? Yeah.
I mean, not in a good way.
Thanks, Shane.
I
Thanks, Shane. I really appreciate that. If Jordan looks half as good as me when he's married.
Yeah, there you go.
Look in the mirror.
That's all I got. That's all I got. My staff asked me to thank you all for your support for the Wings and Wheels. I know most of you were there. And a special shout out to Kevin, spent the entire day there working.
Yeah, we all just messed around.
So I don't know what the rest of you were doing, but
we showed up and
riding in airplanes and having fun.
we showed up and
cheerleading, right?
Kevin was already sunburned. We were like, "You've been here for a
We
while."
have to have cheerleading.
When the wife and kids are out of town, you got to go somewhere.
They wanted me to make sure and thank you specifically
You're welcome.
for your efforts. But again, another indication of how tremendous our community is to respond to volunteer situations. Okay, I'm up first. So we're proposing an increase in the golf rates this year. This is our survey that we do every year. We have to compare with courses that are close to us and fairly in competition with us. Ryan wanted to do a little bit early this year, so the numbers that we have are Hobble Creek's the only one that has their numbers in at this moment. We did not, because of the irrigation system last year, do an increase, which we normally do, so we fell behind what the rest of the courses were doing. You'll see that the proposed numbers that we have here for our increases match or are below what their rates currently are, and they're all proposing increases to their council. So they're gonna continue to go up. So you can see all of our punch passes and our season passes are all commensurate with these types of increases. I had them on here, but the slide was so little you couldn't even see the numbers. So anyway, you can see we're going up $1 for 9 holes on a weekday. That's what the WD stands for, and $2 on a weekend. Which, if you'll, just for example, You can see where Hobble Creek is. They're still 17 and 19 above us, or will be. Timpanogos is at those rates now. Sleepy Ridge is above those rates, and they're all going up once they get them approved. We're a little bit early in the season, so we normally have this survey up to date with actual approvals from the various cities. Again, for those of you that play golf, which are a lot of you, if you play it out of state, we're still very reasonable. I think it's important for us to make sure we don't certainly need to be ahead of the market, but we need to stay close. We've fallen a little bit behind, but our golf course is in tremendous shape and is very, very popular and very crowded if you've tried to get on recently. So Ryan's doing a bang-up job there. These are the rates that we're proposing for next, or starting in actually December 1st, I think, is when he's wanting to implement these. So that's why we're doing this now as part of this budget, so that we can implement it in time for December 1st, when most of
On the
his
morning
stuff.
special, is there no special besides the wing?
Yeah, there is. That's $18. That's 18 holes with a cart.
Oh, is it
Sorry,
with a
that's
cart?
not indicated there.
Got you.
Yeah, $18 for 18 holes with a cart.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with you.
Dale, does the
Good point.
Does the golf course shut down at all during the winter, or if it's a warm day and there's no snow, are they open for business?
Yeah, they do shut down. Now, we don't open and close and open and close, but sometimes you'll have a stretch. It really is based on the snow, right? If things aren't frozen and it's safe to get out and not destroy the turf or destroy the greens, then we'll open when we can. And there's been years, believe it or not, we've been open all year long. A little chilly, but you can wear a jacket, right? Yep. And gloves if you need to. But yeah.
It just depends on the weather.
Yeah, it's really all weather driven. Yep. Now, the restrooms will not be open out on the golf course in the middle of the winter. We have to blow out those lines so they don't freeze, but there are times when we do open up in December and January if the weather permits. Any other questions on this one before we go to the next one?
Maybe the trail fee. I guess maybe I haven't. I've played golf, but I haven't done the trail. What is the trail fee?
The trail fee. It's private golf carts.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
If you bring your cart, you're gonna
that's
pay.
what it's called, is a private golf cart.
I thought you were like gonna say, hey, if you
We're going to start charging you to walk on our trails too.
or if you want to
we're
take,
trying to encapsulate-
if you want to take a golf cart and ride up our trail, I'm like, I'd probably do it, but it defeats the purpose of getting on the trail. Probably.
we need you to walk.
I need you to
on
walk
those.
on the trail. All right.
Yeah, sorry, that's what that's called.
That is bringing your
And
own
by the
cart.
way, you'll notice that nobody allows private carts.
Right.
We still are the only ones. Now, just so that you know, ours have been grandfathered in. We don't allow any new private carts. So once they fall off the grid, they're off the grid. We're working our way towards that as well.
But they're paying $10 a time?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And if you think about it, they have an impact on our course, right? So they need to pay a fee. And they have been for a long time. So we didn't raise those rates. Obviously, the ones that say same in there, we left them. We've had to change, obviously, our weekday rates are $52. We kept those low enough. So our new online system that we prepay, which you're familiar with if you've used the system, we have a prepaid online system in order to get a tee time. That'll only handle so many different variable rates, and so we kept the weekday rate low enough that we're just eliminating the senior fee because it's the same fee, same discount they were getting. And you can see most of these other courses don't have a separate rate either. So anyway, any other questions on that?
Is that, are you going to another slide that's not golf course?
Yes, sir.
So my plug for the golf course is, if you haven't, now is a beautiful time to go up the golf course, see everything changing, go play 9 holes or go drive or something. Get up there with your family. The kids are from Muni course, again, Jansen and Ryan do an awesome job. If your kids of any skill set want to try to get into golf, there's no better place than Spanish Fork to get them started. Swing a club. Because you need help. Yeah, because you need help and you need to get started. And,
I knew it was coming. I could feel it.
Thank you.
He's gonna look at me.
but
Normally
kids,
me. So kind of. You're welcome. Thank you.
just all skill levels are being welcome up there and getting help from pros that know how to teach and know what to do. And it's just awesome to see. The driving range has people on it all the time. The putting green too, and now with the irrigation project and the green and practice area up top too, just there's space for people. I think that's still not open, but there is going to be
It's not
space
open yet,
next
but
year for
yeah.
people to be.
You'll
all over
notice that,
course.
and we do cater to juniors. We want to get that next generation of golfers going. There's a lot of courses that don't. You'll see that Timpanogos and Sleepy Ridge, they don't even have junior rates or passes anymore. So we have a great youth program, and so thank you for bringing that up. It definitely continues to feed the golf business. But that's also why we needed this additional practice space. It's just so congested there. It's going to be really nice to have that. Okay. There is one more golf course picture. I guess I wasn't done, Mayor. So these are some capital project funds that are carryovers. I think Jordan has a slide in here describing what carryovers is, and Seth did as well. It was money that was budgeted last year that needed to be carried over to finish the project. So we have the golf course irrigation system, which is done and conserving us water, by the way. Very efficient. Some of you have probably noticed that it's been really well done, and it came back really quickly. This company did a phenomenal job with putting things back in order so that they would be nice to play on in a short period of time.
We're tracking gallons saved, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The course is greener than it's ever been, and it's
saving
less
a
water
lot because of the number of heads and the way the system was designed. As I showed you before, it's our battle against the wind, because before you had these heads that were so far apart and trying to spray water, and it just very efficient, and in terms of keeping things green, but also water efficiency. So you're going to see some real neat results from that, particularly next spring. The $320,000 is the urban forest. As you know, we're building a parking lot and also a restroom there. I've had public already comment, thank you, this makes this so nice. That disc golf course down there is becoming very popular. So it's nice to have some facilities to accommodate them. The $98,000 is the Rocky Mountain Power Trail Corridor that we're currently working on. We've got that done from Cut Bridge, the road up to Mapleton, up to the north end of the Slant Road. Thank you. I went right to the Cut Bridge. Thanks.
I knew what you were talking about.
Thanks.
Without a map.
That's nice, Shane.
Would it be helpful for the public to have a map of where this Rocky Mountain Power Trail corridor is? Nick, can you show that?
Yeah, if they see where those great big transmission lines are on the east side, just go follow those.
I think a lot of us probably don't get over to that newer east side.
Yeah,
Like when I
it's true.
when I go over there,
Yeah, this is specifically in the Legacy Farm subdivision, from the old Slant Road to the railroad tracks. And then it should continue on everywhere you see those power lines. We hope to have it run all the way from
Yeah.
the railroad tracks on the south and west, up to the mouth of the canyon, along the power corridor. And it will probably be called the Power Corridor Trail, not the RMP, because it's in Spanish.
So there you can see. Where's my?
so
Yep.
up there.
So
by
that's the
railroad
part we're
tracks.
working on right now. The trail is built, and now we're landscaping. Now we're landscaping the sides of those all the way up through there. So it's going to be beautiful. It'll be a great portion of our trail system once that's goes all the way.
Will that extend further south eventually?
Yes, it'll go all the way to the old gravel pit. It actually will, when the trail system connects, will connect down to the river bottoms trail.
Awesome.
Yeah, in our master plan.
And then-
Chad's pretty close.
Chad's closer than anybody else at this point. Yeah, he's right there.
And then Del, will you also describe where the urban forest
Yes.
park is? Because I bet half of the viewers have no idea that we
Nick, you want to
have.
pop that up on the map too, while we got it? Thanks.
So 4 people.
Yeah, the 4 people watching don't know where it is.
Millions.
There are millions. I've never heard that there's only 4.
Millions.
I don't believe that for a minute.
Sports Park, and you can get there on this trail right here. Here's your urban forest.
No, it's up here. Right there. Yeah, right
So I'm
there.
saying, it's not there. You put it in the wrong spot.
Yeah, right there. You can see the parking lot that's in already.
Oh, it's on that end.
So we're got to do,
There's parking here as well, right?
yeah, there is. We've got to finish some landscaping and put in a restroom down there, but
Where's the restroom gonna go?
it's going to be right there, just south of the parking lot.
Up here?
Mm-hmm, right where that arrow is.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Is that an
Thanks for the
18-hole
clarification.
disc course?
Yes.
Full size?
Yep. With lots of trees.
Yeah.
We're going to have to rename that at some point. No,
Yeah,
urban
urban
forest
forest.
is much bigger than just that. So, yeah. Thank you for the clarification. That's perfect. Okay. These are also carryovers. As you know, part of our RAP tax funding is to replace playgrounds in our city. This is the second one up at Centennial Park that has been replaced. The $50,000 that's there was for landscaping. We did allocate, the RAP committee approved $50,000 to go towards the Urban Forest Park landscape project to help fund that as well. So this playground we ordered a year ahead of time, and as with a lot of stuff, it just didn't come. It was slow getting manufactured. Time we got it installed, we had passed the fiscal year, so it got into July. So that's why we had to pay for that, or we have to carry that over to pay for that project in this budget year rather than the previous. You may also watch our next playground on the docket is the sports park. It's hard to believe the sports park's over 20 years old, but it is. So it's the next one that's scheduled to be replaced. And it is also in the works and being ordered early. We've started to learn that we need to get ahead of some of these things. This is the Fairgrounds South parking lot. Many of you may have seen that or may not during the rodeo. You have the Reams building that's located there, which has started to be erected at the moment. That's what we're proposing here is to finish the first phase. If any of you looked over there during the rodeo, that was packed with cars. So we had road base. It was in nice condition where we could actually park on it. This is also going to include a food court area. Where's my pointer?
So there's one.
You want this one?
Is it the red one?
Here, just take mine.
There it is. It's right there with arrows. I just don't know how to use it. Anyway, Reams is right here. This is their property that they own. And then this will be, the fence line runs right here currently. So you saw parking all through here during the rodeo. This is going to become the new food court area. You'll have a public entrance here in terms of a ticket gate here. And again, those of you that know, this is a almost 10-acre property. So this is just the first phase that we need to complete this in order for Reams to be able to get business going here. Then we'll complete this and get it fully landscaped and asphalted. So that'll be done for sure for the rodeo. And then we'll start grading out some of the other area in order to get it so it can accommodate even more vehicles. Any questions on that one? I think I'm done. Jordan, is it you?
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Bill.
Starting to wonder if Jordan's going to come up here or not.
I don't know how you got out of this.
Yeah. See how this is going.
It's called delegation.
So carryovers are just an important part of the budget because the fiscal year cuts our construction season in half, and we have to utilize the whole construction season. We try to predict months in advance, how much will be spent by July 1st, but it's really impossible to do. So there'll always be carryovers. First on the water division has 3 projects, major projects with carryover. The first is the power corridor transmission line. This is kind of in that area where you saw that power corridor trail. With all the homes being built out there, and with only a few transmission lines of water into that area, pressure were starting to drop, especially on the lawns. And so we planned out this project to bring another large transmission line into the area. And as we started planning that out with a lot of developments coming, it just made sense to combine with a lot of the developers and run all of the utilities needed by the developers and our water lines all at once. And that worked out really well. There's just some carryover to finish up that project, which was a several $1 million project, but we had to finish up in July. The next project is lining the 30-inch steel line that comes down the canyon from our springs. This line has broken several times over the years. When it does, it has a significant impact on the city, not to mention the road. I was up on one in the middle of the night 15 years ago where the whole Highway 6 was gone, and that was a pretty exciting night. So,
Where are you on this?
So this is going up the canyon.
No, as far as the project.
Oh, I would say close to half done, but
We finish it before the next fiscal year?
Yeah, they should. They should have it done by then. Anyway, we had to carry over about $1 million for that project to finish up. And then the third project is on 3rd West. This is a feed. So I-15 is a pretty major barrier for utilities. It also is on the other side of I-15 is kind of where all our industrial growth is and industrial area of town is. And we have some large buildings going in out there. And so as we run the model and look at fire flows, it became imperative that we upsize this relatively small feed into that area to be a lot bigger line to provide fire flows for all those big buildings. Anyway, this we had to carry over about $225,000 for that project to finish it. Any questions on any of the water projects? On the sewer projects, we have this North Industrial Sewer Lift Station. This is clear out on State Route 77. It's the same road that is 4 South Springville. So if you come and go west from that interchange, it brings you out towards Spanish Fork. And just right off that road, we constructed a very deep lift station, which will allow that whole area to be sewered for all the industrial growth there. But also, it enables us to get rid of 3 local lift stations that we can now all combine into one big quality regional station. And that's a lot better for the city and maintenance and going forward. We did that project in conjunction with the garbage district as well as a developer in that area, and that worked out really well for all of us. Then another sewer lift station, which was constructed at the southwest end of town. It'll pick up a whole bunch of homes that were currently being sewered to Salem, which had a lot higher rate than in Spanish Fork. And so this now allows those residents to just come to Spanish Forks, and it saves quite a bit on the monthly bill for those residents. And then also it opened up that area. It'll support that area as it grows. One key factor with these projects over in that area is we had a sewer lift station right by the river, just west of the sports park, and this will allow us to get that away from the river, and it takes over that, so it kind of combines and becomes a big regional lift station there. Any questions on the sewer? Next carryover is a bunch of power and light projects.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please say that again, please?
Okay, the next project is the bunch of power and light projects.
His own phone, too.
He knows my voice. He knows my voice.
It's always the last one. Let the record show. Yours went off first.
This project, Expressway Lane project, is we're excited to get a road eventually someday across that railroad track. This is kind of the belt route of Spanish Fork, and it'll bring a lot of traffic from the Northeast Bench, and even on the east side of Spanish Fork, and eventually even Salem residents might be able to come on this belt route, and it'll land them by the hospital and our commercial center there. And with that road project, we're bringing a power connection through there. Then the industrial substation expansion. This is out on 3rd West, kind of where that wire line project's being constructed. Just on the other side of I-15, we have a substation there. And just north of that substation, we have a bunch of industrial buildings about to be built. And in order to supply power to them and their surrounding area, we needed to expand our substation. Now, we don't always finance these. Sometimes we do if we can, but in this case, the developer is actually paying the money for this expansion. The developer will be paid back for their portion over time through impact fees. But they're fronting that money, but we don't allow anyone to really get into our substation. So they put the money in escrow, we'll do the work, and then we'll use that money out of the escrow to pay for it. So, but we still have to budget for it and carry it over to complete the project. Here at the city block, we needed to bring all the power underground, and so we're carrying money over to do that. And then the north substation addition. This is the substation that's near our airport by the Armory, and this is actually, we are adding a big transformer in there to support a lot of electrical needs of those big buildings being built out there, and the garbage transfer station. And so that's carryover money to finish that project. And then finally, the Leland substation project here in kind of near the senior center and the high school in that area. We have a substation that is really overloaded, and we're worried that it will get run down before it's time if we don't start relieving that load. And so, you know, we built a distribution line along the west side of town. On the other side of I-15, we combined with SCSD and used their power poles, and that helped shift some power from the industrial substation that we just talked about down to help with what's called the Argyle substation over by the senior center. And so we can kind of share load between those two substations. But even with that, and especially with the growth up at the north end of town, we're still being overloaded here. And so the plan is to build this substation, and then that can help support the Argyle substation, actually even support substations going north with that distribution connection. So this is a carryover to complete or to work on that project. I think it'll be another year after that before it's completed. Streets. We have a pretty aggressive agenda to try to repair sidewalk that's in poor shape. And this last year and the year before that, it's been really tough getting contractors that are available. And so we've been working with them, but to complete the projects that we had for last year, we still need to carry over some funds that were budgeted last year. This carryover of $1 million for Expressway Lane project is mostly because we bid this out, and we only got one bid, and so we felt like we needed to go another route. The bid was really high, and so we went through a CMGC model, and that delayed it a little bit. But we're kind of excited about this project. It's using some Mountain Land Association of Governments funds for a grant that we got to do what's called the signalized high T, which we put in there at Cafe Rio and where the Maverick is. And so we rebuilt that interchange just ahead of when In-N-Out Burger was constructed. We heard that they generate traffic, so we were kind of nervous about that. So we got that done just ahead of them. And kudos to the contractor, which happens to be a kind of a local contractor, but they were able to go in there, get it done ahead of time, and quite a bit under budget, which is great. And so we're able to take those budget monies, keep it on that expressway lane, but we'll go across and put a signal in where the Target entrance will be, right across from where the McDonald's and the Wendy's is. So we'll put a signal in there. We'll put another signal there at Marketplace Drive or 1100 East, where that road is. That warrants a signal now. And then we're going to widen that access, that intersection at Highway 6, so that we'll have 2 extra lanes in there, which will be greatly needed. It'll be a good project. We're trying to do all of this work ahead of UDOT's project next year to do a significant improvement to US 6 through that intersection, some widening there, and then also through the 10th North intersection. So trying to stay ahead of that project. And then we have the Jex area of town subdivision. This is kind of 14th East and north of Canyon Road. We've always called that the Jex subdivision area. We've been doing a lot of work there to upgrade their sidewalks, their curb and gutters. The roads are in poor shape, but we do not want to waste money on road rehabilitation unless the storm drain problems are fixed, so that the roads won't go back to a poor state. And so we've been doing a lot of work on fixing the storm drain in that area. And this project is to finish that out, as well as we put in those street signals and a lot of handicap ramps and different things to make that area a lot nicer. And then we of course have a major road rehabilitation project planned as soon as that's done. And so we're excited for that area to have that. And then a Wasatch Pallet Railroad realignment. This is just some carryover for that project. We've had to work really hard on this. It's been the most difficult thing, but I think it's going to be well worth it. I think it probably will bring us an interchange up to 5 years sooner than we might have gotten otherwise. I could see us not getting an interchange for quite a while just because of the amount of buildings that would have been bought out and dealing with the railroad. But we've gone in ahead of time, dealt with the railroad, dealt with all those issues, and hopefully that kind of paves the way for a Center Street interchange to come. Next project, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about, is the 2000 East US 6 connection. This is kind of with Spanish Fork Parkway, that belt loop I was talking about. This is a key aspect of that belt loop. It comes to a roundabout, which is there by the neighborhood Walmart. That roundabout will go south down 2300 East. Eventually, that will continue south and pick up some Salem growth that we really don't want on our main street, and be able to bring that to our commercial areas, bring it to the hospital, that area, or to Highway 6. And this is if you're coming from the east side of town or further south from there, and you come up 2300 East, and you get to that roundabout, you can either go to past the neighborhood Walmart and then up to the hospital and Canyon Creek shopping area, or you'll be able to go to the west and hit a new intersection on Highway 6 at 2000 East. And there you can get on Highway 6 and get off to I-15 quicker. This project is phase 1. We just recently have had funding approved for the third phase, and the second phase was actually constructed by developers in that area. So we got the funding for the third phase, and so we're excited about that. That will still be 3 or 4 years out to get that, but this is completing the first phase, which was the roundabout, all the landscaping, and then that road over to Walmart. So any questions about any of these projects? I think that's all for me.
Thanks, Chris.
Big deals. Thanks, Chris. Now we're getting Jordan.
If I would have covered their topics, we'd have gone much faster because I would not have known what I was talking about. So, yeah. But I'll be talking a little bit about the general fund. There weren't a whole lot of changes in the general fund. We recently got our paramedic license and start having paramedics on our ambulance crews, and that allows us to do transports that only paramedics can do. As a result, we're seeing transports increase. So this budget has us budgeting for $1.6 million in transports instead of $1.4 million. Dell's already covered the $520,000 for the parking lot there at the fairgrounds. The net change from the original budget to this budget is the same. We're still using $720,000 of retained earnings. So there are a bunch of minor changes, but nothing that we need to discuss here, I don't think. Yeah.
Jordan, for my benefit,
Yeah.
can you explain the $720K retained earnings? What is that? How does that make up the difference between what our expenses and our revenues are?
Okay. So there's a term out there called a balanced budget, which I feel like is a little bit of a lie or a fallacy, because your revenues never completely match your expenses. So you're either adding to or using up your cash on hand, right? So that's using up $720,000 of cash that we have on hand. Okay. So that we budget on a cash basis. Yeah. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand.
So 720 cash that we've got on hand, which is making up the difference in that.
Exactly. Yep. So in the general fund, we have a set amount of money that we can have. We can't have too much or too much little. We have to stay in this Goldilocks range. And it's between 5% and 35% of the revenue for that year. So we try to be on the higher end of that range. I think this is placing us somewhere in the 25 to 30% area. Yeah, so we try to stay in that higher end of the range.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Some other capital project funds that those two didn't mention are going towards the remodel of 2 buildings. This building, so right now this room that we're in is council chambers. We are building a new council chambers in the building next door, so that makes this room available for another purpose. We can remodel it and do something different with it. In addition to the council chambers moving over, the finance department is also moving over, so that'll allow people that are kind of working in nooks and crannies of the building to kind of have a little bit more space and have another conference room or two in the building. And yeah. And then also has $100,000 to begin the remodel of the old library for office space for the recreation department. Yeah. So we're expecting to move into that building hopefully in the April 1st in the springtime. So it doesn't leave a whole lot of time in the fiscal year to start on the remodel for these 2 buildings.
So the recreation department is moving into it?
I'll let Seth answer that question.
ask the question.
I know I was.
Yeah, I'm done.
Right now, that's our plan. We've talked about that a little bit, right, in previous meetings and work sessions with you.
Yeah, we've seen this plan.
Yeah. We're still going through some iterations and revisions of that, and this will help us. This will help us to hire the architect that will help us design the space for it.
Will we do away with the building down on it?
No, we're so pressed for office spaces. I think at this moment, I don't think we can do away with anything. We might move some people from this building there and stuff like that. Yeah, we're working on our master plan of how things get shifted around, but yeah. In the last budget as well, we had in the fire and EMS, if you'll pull up that map for us. In the fire and EMS budget, we budgeted for 6 full-time paramedic positions, which we hired in July, for July 1. We also budgeted for 6 more to start in January. Eddie's working. We've hired those 6. They're doing great, and we have those paramedics on every day, 24 hours a day, and are doing great things for us. Inside of that, when we budgeted in April and May, we overestimated some of the costs for those positions for the full year as well as for the part year. And overestimating is good because you have money that you don't need to spend rather than underestimating, right? Because we budgeted for half of the positions for half of a fiscal year, we have to find the rest of the funds next fiscal year anyway. So this actually allows us to, in essence, have the funds in that budget at full for next year. So that's great. We have all of the funds that we need in the FMS to fully fund those 6 positions that we'll bring on in January for the full fiscal year next year. But as we've been visiting Eddie and I about a few challenges, this is an aerial view really close to Station 61, in case anyone doesn't know where we are. For further clarification, this is 400 North and this is Main Street. This is an office building. He's not even paying attention. Yeah.
I know. I know.
So, one of the challenges that we face in fire and EMS is coverage at night. And so our plan right now has been to have all of our crews respond out of 62 as of about 10 p.m. every night, which works and works okay. But that means the response time is now from just the one station. So it's a little bit longer for crews to get downtown and to areas of town. And we have the ability to, we don't have the ability to put anybody in the Station 61 overnight. As Eddie's been working on this, trying to identify, the problem, not being able to have people there, and how long it will take for us to have people there. We've got this master plan that we're studying on where should the future stations be, how should they be oriented, sized, etc. But in all reality, any adjustment to this building in order to have somebody be able to sleep there is 3 to 5 years away. And so there isn't a quick solve for that in terms of a permanent structure and permanent changes. So one thing that we've conceived with some of those funds that we over budgeted for those positions, one-time expense, so I don't need those for something ongoing next year, is to acquire some trailers, and we can put them either here or there depending on the orientation. Most likely they would be back here. And those would be a dual trailer unit that we would purchase from a local company, actually, I don't think in Spanish Fork, but in Utah County. And each unit would be about $120,000. And when we're done with them, say in 5 years or so, they would have about a 50% resale value, maybe more, but we're trying to be conservative in our estimates. And so we would spend about $280,000 with improvements to the site and to purchase those. And then in 3 to 5 years, whenever we sell them, we can expect to get $120,000 to maybe $140,000 for the sale of those when we're done using them. Or we could keep them if we wanted to, but I don't know that we will need them.
That's to provide sleeping.
That would allow us to provide people to sleep here, and I think you could count on that being available certainly by the beginning of next fiscal year, maybe sooner. They say it's about a 4-month lead time. So by the time you get it installed and everything, maybe the last couple of months of this fiscal year. But that's something that's brand new. You've never considered that. We didn't have this in the plans. We didn't have Eddie thinking about these kinds of things when we were putting the plans together. It's one way that we can use those funds for fire and EMS on a one-time purchase, but have them available next year when we need that for the year-round use for those full-time employees. Before we go on to the salary schedule, that's new to you. Any questions on that? Or I think Eddie's here. Eddie's back there. Any questions on that or things you want to discuss relative
So
to
would
that?
one person to stay in each trailer? Is that
No,
how
there
that
would be
work?
3 bedrooms in each.
Oh, okay, so 6 people.
Yeah, you'd have space for 6. We would need 4 or 5 by next fiscal year, and that would give us room for one more growth position as well.
So
They would have bedrooms, bathrooms, and a kitchen. It is a standalone mobile unit, so it would have everything that you would expect to have, say, in a mobile home park, with 3 bedrooms.
And they would only use that at night?
Well, they could be in there anytime.
Yeah, true, but most likely just sleeping.
It would be so that they could sleep here at night, and then they would respond from here. They would have a pathway. There would be some 10 to 15 feet where they'd leave and come into this door, and then they'd run to the bays from there.
So besides this sleeping situation, which sounds like you've got a solution to, are there other issues or difficulties that we have with Station 61?
On a permanent basis, yes. On an interim basis, no. So permanently, this is not a great long-term solution for the facility, but it certainly serves us for the interim. And we may find with our study that long-term, this is not a good place for us to have a station for the next 30 years. And so we may want to look at a different location, and where would that location be? But this gives us time to be able to site it and do however we need. So frankly, if it took us 10 years to do that, this would work for us.
Mayor was asking, since they won't have a pole to slide down, zip line from the trailers in.
We can study that.
All right.
So they gotta climb up the pole and then
Whatever.
sit down.
I don't know.
I would recommend if we do anything like that, there must be a whippet too.
Test it out.
No.
We're gonna miss Brandon.
No, you're not.
So these are not trailers wheels that you pull off with a truck and take up the kit, not the weekend warrior.
Oh, sorry, no.
Trailers.
It
We're talking-
eventually
I mean,
could
eventually,
move,
yes.
yes.
we load them.
Double wide.
Yeah,
It's like it's a double wide split and.
perfect.
Okay,
I think it's a great temporary solution.
I do too.
Brilliant.
Eddie's a pretty smart guy back there.
Yeah, about 200, like I said, $250,000, $280,000 for all of it, and it buys us 3 to 5 years, and then there's that resale, so that's good.
We were looking at a home in the area for how much?
Correct, more than that.
A lot more than that, right? And we're saying,
More
well,
than
if we
that.
buy this home, it buys us this much time.
Which again, one step further, the explanation to the residents is you're hiring full-time staff to be at stations. Station 62 is on the east side that only has the 24-hour capability. So if your emergency is downtown, you're coming down highway, or you're coming down Canyon Road to get to, now you have both places where you can have both staffed, ready to respond
Yeah,
to
correct.
both sides of our
And
town.
they have, Eddie can speak to this more, but they have 10-ish calls a day on the EMS side of the house. 2-ish calls a day 2 to 3 calls a day on the fire side. I may be overstating those numbers, just 1 or 2. But the number of calls that EMS is getting now with the hospital is significant. And so that call volume means that at night, just 2 years ago, at night, we were having 1 call every other day, right, on average, so a half a call a day. But, I might have a call tonight, no call tomorrow, then call the next night kind of a thing. And now we're in that 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. I think I haven't seen the average numbers, but I would say they're probably in the 2 to 3 range every night. And so with some of those being transports. And so the call volume is it's growing. And the hospital's, of course, doing more and more of that.
So does this increase the number of staff that we'll have at night, or you'll take half of what we've got at 62 and you'll now move them down to 61, so you'll have half there and half here, or you'll have the amount that we've got at 62 now plus an additional amount at 61?
Good question. This change will enable us to have more staff at night. So now we have 4, maybe 6 at night at 62, depending on the night and people's availability and where they're at. We have people also responding from home that come and just based on our typical historical model. But this would eliminate that responding from home for any of those positions. If you're on at 61, you would respond from here. It would be staffed with 4 people 24/7. And if you're at 62, you would be on 24 hours a day. And there would be 4 there as well. So you'd have 8 people responding. Today we have 6 or 7, depending on how, a floater that may be there, with 2 of those 6 being paramedics. And in January, when we bring on the second set of paramedics, we'll have 4 paramedics, 2 at 62 and 2 at 61, with 2 EMTs rounding out that crew.
Perfect.
Gives us the ability to actually staff 4 ambulances at any one time, which in my history, that's unbelievable. A few years ago, we had a 3rd ambulance called out once a month, just a few years ago. And now we're having 3 and 4 with the hospital transports. That's just, the hospital and those transports changes the model that we have significantly. Any other questions on this? With your permission and discussion tonight, we'll start the wheels moving on getting those ordered. It'll take 4 months before they'll get here. But I'm very pleased with this interim step, and that we don't actually have to increase the budget to do it. So that's great. All right, Tyler.
So a couple weeks ago, actually maybe a month ago, Kim Hall, our HR director, reviewed some of this in the work session. In essence of time, I'll try to go pretty quickly here. Typically, we only have 1 salary study that we do a year. Because of the hyperinflation and the demand for employees, we actually have had 2 in this year. We compare to 16 cities. When we do our compensation study, we collect what they're paying each of their different positions that we have, and then we take that, and that's part of the method we use to determine where the market goes. So here are the different salary ranges that are proposed tonight. These are the result of that study, and we look at this. This is the midpoint for each position is actually slated into one of these pay grades. So those are our benefited amounts. And then as far as our non-benefited or seasonal employees, this is the pay grade for those positions. You'll notice that we keep this dollar amount here at the bottom in case we ever need to use it, but the rest of these amounts would increase as our amounts for the benefited employees increase. I realize that's pretty broad. I tried to share this with you and the public so they could get an idea of where we're at. But if you do have further questions, I'm happy to.
How many? Sorry, Chad, were you gonna ask something?
When will this be on there? Check.
So if it's approved tonight, then it would be part of the pay period that starts on the 8th, I believe. Let's see, is that Friday? Saturday? Yeah, Saturday.
So I've got a 16-year-old that just started his first job, not making a lot.
Uh-huh.
But that PT2, especially the hourly minimum,
Yeah.
is not a lot of money. Are we actually able to fill positions at that rate?
What'd you say?
I said a couple, but not many.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the positions, maybe scorekeepers, things like that, it may end up being about that rate. We pay them per game. We have to at least pay them minimum wage, and so as you do the calculations, it's somewhere around that. So not very many. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tyler.
Any questions on anything else?
Any other questions before we go into public hearing? If not, entertain a motion to go into public hearing for this item. Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilwoman Beck, to go into public hearing for the fiscal year budget 22-23. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We are in public hearing for this item. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to the fiscal year budget, adopting a salary scale, fee schedule, and approving certain donations?
So I just have a couple questions with the fire station having those trailers. Is that including, your price, is that including like sewer and water hookups? Okay. And then how is the like salary increase going to affect other projects in their budget? i.e., the referendum and the rec center.
Thank you. Good questions. Anyone else from the public who would like to speak to this item? Okay, if not, I entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved. Second.
A motion made by Councilman Gordon. That was together.
We did both, right?
Yeah.
We got it.
Motion made by Councilman Gordon, seconded by Councilman Argyle to go out of public hearing. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, we're out of public hearing. A couple of questions here of, now I'm forgetting already. Number one, yeah, Emily, number one, but what was number one?
Oh, price including sewer and then salary.
Sewer and water hookups.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me delineate those prices better than I did. The trailers are about $120,000 each, so $240, and then the price to do all the utilities and stuff are about $25,000 to $30,000. So $250 to $280 is the range that I gave. Yeah, that includes bringing utilities and things like that.
You can tap into the existing building right there.
No, into the parking lot. So
Okay.
yeah,
utilities in
the
the parking
sewer shouldn't be very expensive, or sewer, electricity, and water shouldn't be that expensive. There's water in the parking lot and such. So about 25,000. When I stand up there, I'm rounding, so you can do the math better for me, but it's about $120,000 and $30,000, whatever that adds up to.
Perfect.
Yep.
Number
And then on
two
the
question.
the salary increase on other projects and other things, absolutely. That's factored into the budget from the beginning of the year. And the salary increases, at this moment, there's no additional impact to the budget from what was budgeted in the July 1 budget. So although we are adjusting the salary ranges today, there aren't any additional funds that are needed in the budget in order to use these salary ranges. Now, we don't have people hired for some of those potential future positions, such as, I think you said, the rec center and other places. But when we do have a position, any new position as it's created or whatever, it fits into one of those 17 or so grades that we have, or ranges, positions that we have. So this keeps our salaries schedule current, and it allows us to be able to attract and recruit employees to fit whatever those positions are. So it absolutely factors into those different projects, whatever they may be. But this year we did have to budget more than ever before for raises, as all the world saw inflation and changes. To the point of your kid being able to work, probably, he's not making a lot of money, but he's sure making a lot more than you did in your first jobs, right? It's crazy. But yeah, that was factored in, and these range adjustments do not cause a change to our salary, what we've budgeted since the July 1 budget.
Thank you. When you said that, it reminds me of my neighbor that owns a fast food restaurant, and his own son said, "Dad, I'm going to work at this fast food restaurant in town that's not yours because they pay more." And so it even hits the family table, the family business of we're going to work where the wage is a little bit more competitive. But okay, any other questions for staff? Discussion up here on this first fiscal year budget revision here.
Good. Hey. Were you grabbing your mic?
I move to go out of public hearing.
I think we're
Oh,
out.
we already are?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, because
Remember
Brandon
my
made the motion.
triple.
Yes.
A triple stamp.
How about then I move to approve the ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022, 2023 budget, adopting a salary scale, fee schedule, and approving certain donations.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck, seconded by Councilman Argyle. Any discussions on this motion? If not, roll call vote. Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck?
Yes.
Councilman Marshall?
Yes.
Councilman Euler?
Yes.
And Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
That passes, takes us to 9A of new business resolution, Spanish Fork Parkway Railroad crossings. Chris, it's a big deal.
Yeah, we're excited to get this crossing in. Had a lot of hurdles with the railroad, the last being which needing to get the annexation that included the 3400 East Railroad crossing, which is, can you zoom out so kind of down in this? So we just had an annex, no, a little bit more down here. Okay, so we just did an annexation of this area here. You'll notice that it includes a railroad crossing right there. One of the things that the railroad has recently done is said that they will not open up a new railroad crossing unless we close down 3 other railroad crossings.
3 others.
Very difficult. It's caused a lot of pain across the whole land, and including us. And so, now can you zoom out just one tick? Okay. So we have what we kind of call the Spanish Fork Belt Route going in, which is this. It comes all the way up here. It comes to that roundabout we were talking about earlier and goes down like this. And so a key part of that belt route is this railroad crossing right here, which has been held up from getting a permit from the railroad. We finally have worked out that if we close that other crossing and 2 others, then they'll let us open up this crossing. But in order for us to prove to the railroad that we could close that crossing, we had to complete that annexation, and the lieutenant governor just barely signed that. And then we have to have this resolution saying that we are willing to close.
Where's the other 2? One.
One's right here, and then the other one's up over here. So.
The other one's down on Depot Road.
No. So could you zoom into this area here? So we are working with UTA. Maybe zoom out just one tap. We're working with UTA to do a railroad realignment here. And what that will do is it'll allow them to bring commuter rail, front runner, to Spanish Fork. It'll come and end up over here. Well, that happens to remove a railroad crossing there. So, yeah, 3 for 1. That's a pretty good deal. They're pretty hard negotiating.
So, okay, so Chris, they're gonna go, so we can go ahead with this? So I have heartburn with the railroad too, because whatever they said, so are we gonna close these now?
So we have 3 years. So what this says is within 3 years of this opening up, we will close the other one.
Okay.
So.
When do you expect construction?
Well,
Design?
We're building it right now. We just are hoping to get our permit by the time we get to the tracks. So, so completed in early springtime.
Thanks, Chris.
Perfect.
For all your
Again, the deal, this does Fourth North, huge Mapleton people coming, and we love them shopping in Spanish Fork, but it's hard to get, in and out with them. And Fourth North feeds down to Fourth East and over to Costco. This is just a tough area of traffic that has been held up by getting across the road right there.
There are a lot of people excited for this, and it should increase improve traffic in a lot of areas in town as soon as this is in.
This will affect areas, for example, where Emily and I live, the general area where we live. I plan on not getting on Highway 6 to go down to the Canyon Creek area, you know,
Right.
where you live as well, right? I'm going to avoid Highway 6. Stay off of those. This belt route would be great. It'd be just as fast, especially with, you know, stoplights and things like that being avoided. So this will be fantastic.
Don't, just keep going. Don't come down 4th North.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on 4th North. I got
This
places
is
to
the
go.
road. Yeah,
Just
this
keep
is-
going.
This is the canyon road of that area. Go use that one.
Perfect. Okay, any other questions? Staff or anybody for this resolution? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Spanish Fork Parkway Railroad Crossing.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilman Euler. Roll call vote. Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
And Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
Passes. That takes us on to 9B, Real Property Management Contract, RPM.
So staff interviewed several property management companies to help us with a couple of the homes that we've acquired in the city and that we don't plan to use immediately. And in interviewing those companies, it became very clear that Real Property Management, the contract that's on the agenda tonight, was the one that best fit our needs. What they'll do for us is they'll actually take care of all of the service that comes along with managing a property. So from finding tenants to contracting with tenants to collecting insurance from the tenants, to doing a background check, credit check. They will go and evaluate the home periodically, take care of maintenance, and RPM has a great reputation. In fact, the lady that we'll be working with, she has 40 years in the property management business, and she's very well versed. It was, as we asked her questions, she brought things up that we wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And that's the reason why we're recommending that we hire RPM to help us with our property management.
Perfect. Any questions for Tyler on this one?
How many properties?
So right now we have one, potentially there are 3 that we own, and we could potentially end up renting out all 3 of those. So.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Tyler, I'd entertain a motion on 9B.
I move to approve the real property management contract.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Marshall, seconded by Councilwoman Beck. Any question on this motion? A roll call vote. Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
9B passes. Goes to 9C, resolution approving amendment to Utah County interlocal agreement for CDBG.
Mayor and Council, the Spanish Fork City participates in the Community Development Block Grant through the county. We have an interlocal agreement with them. This is an amendment to that agreement, just to clarify some of the HUD suggested changes to the agreement, that it includes both the home program and the entitlement CDBG program. And also, we can only terminate it prior to the commencement of the 3-year term. They want us to sign up for at least 3 years. Any questions? That's really the only changes to the agreement.
Questions for Vaughn on this one?
Thank you.
If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution approving amendment to Utah County interlocal agreement for CDBG.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Euler, seconded by Councilman Argyle. A roll call vote. Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
That passes. Takes us to item 10, to adjourn to the redevelopment agency.
Motion to adjourn to the redevelopment agency.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Gordon, seconded by Councilman Argyle to adjourn to the redevelopment agency. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We are in redevelopment agency. No, item number 11, act as, what do we call ourselves, chair people of the? Board members of the RDA. I would entertain a motion by a board member to approve the RDA minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from 6/21/22 meeting.
Second.
Motion made by board member Gordon, seconded by board member Beck for the RDA minutes, June 21. Roll call vote, Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Board member Euler.
He's the only board member.
Yeah, you're the board member. Everybody else is board members too.
You were
Board member
doing
Euler?
so,
Yes.
you were
Okay.
doing so good.
Everybody was,
When does he go to jail?
yes, yeah, sorry about that.
Is it
Board
soon?
members.
Soon, hopefully.
Okay, item number 12, RDA new business for the board members up here to discuss. Mr. Dave Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I believe the title of this item really sums it up well. The approval of this resolution would authorize staff to begin the study process to potentially create a new community reinvestment area. If done, the intent of creating the area would be to facilitate capital investment in Spanish Fork City. And it's really, in my view, that simple.
Yeah, not much to it. I think I referenced it a little bit in my comments, that these are discussions we've had with other entities in, about this area. And this is formalizing the consents to move forward, continue studying that, right?
Bingo.
Okay.
Yep.
Public hearings to come as we move down the road and get further into this. Any questions for Dave from these board members? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the adoption of survey area resolution to begin the study process to potentially create a new community reinvestment area.
Second.
Motion made by board member Marshall, seconded by board member Euler. This is a roll call vote. Board member Gordon.
Yes.
Board member Beck.
Yes.
Board member Marshall.
Yes.
Board member Euler.
Yes.
And board member Argyle.
Yes.
Do we
That
need to
is
go back to
approved.
City council before closed session? Motion to go back to city council.
Motion to go back to city council by Councilman by board member Gordon, seconded by board member Argyle. Roll call vote to go back into council. Board member Beck.
Yes.
Board member Marshall.
Yes.
Board member Euler.
Yes.
Board member Argyle.
Yes.
And board member Gordon.
Yes.
We're in city council, or we're council members. Anything else before we adjourn to closed session?
Personal privilege, Mayor.
Yes.
Seth, do you remember a meeting where Mayor Leifson surprised you about changing our logo to Pride and Progress?
I move we adjourn.
We are going to change it from Progress and Pride, and our fire department's going to say Progress and Pride, serving you from the double wide.
Did you get the email, the text that you?
Did I? It's just spot on. With that, I move we adjourn to closed session for land transaction reasonably imminent litigation.
His motion just hung out there, no second on that, so
We
that's
knew it
not
would
happening.
die for lack of a second.
Yeah. Motion made by Councilman Gordon to go into closed session, seconded by Councilwoman Beck. Roll call vote, Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle. Yes. Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
We are adjourned into closed session. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks for coming.